David Szalay, bienvenue à ChiassoLetteraria. Je vais vous poser des questions sur le livre Primavera qui a été traduit en italien maintenant. L'histoire d'amour dans ce livre finit très mal. Nous associons, nous, généralement, dans notre vie, le printemps au désir de renaissance. Que représente pour vous le printemps?
Well, yes, I suppose in that book there's definitely a sense that the title is ironic, of course, in a way. The positive connotations that spring often has in the way we think about it and in literature, in the history of literature, of course, is not really appropriate to the way that the story plays out and ends in the book. So yes, it was a deliberately ironic choice of title, and I think that there is this sense of the characters in the book, of course, want to have a sort of experience like a spring, which then becomes a summer, and a sort of a relationship and a life which doesn't have to keep restarting. And there's this sense that life continually restarts for them, that they start something and then it doesn't work and then they have to start it again, and so that life is like a continual succession of springs that never quite reach summer, I suppose. And so that was the thinking behind the title, yes.
Votre style d'écriture est très sec. Vous racontez des histoires sans juger la souffrance des personnages. Quelle importance revêt dans le roman l'honnêteté intellectuelle?
Yes, it's very important to me, intellectual honesty and emotional honesty. I think that writing fiction, one of the ways that it can justify itself as an activity is that it's an area where that kind of intellectual and emotional honesty is possible. In many other areas, there are always reasons why it's difficult to bring the maximum possible degree of intellectual and emotional honesty to what you're doing. And one of the reasons, as I say, that I like writing fiction, that it's important to me, both as a reader and as a writer, of course, is that it's an area in which that kind of honesty is possible, and it allows us to look at life in a way which is perhaps more honest than almost any other arena in which we think about it.
Thanks, David. Que représentent pour toi les frontières aujourd'hui, the border?
Yes, I mean, I think perhaps I can say with reference to another book of mine, All That Man Is, that book was written in 2013, 14, 15, and it was a book in which I was trying to write about contemporary Europe, and it seemed to me at that time that Europe was an increasingly borderless place, and that people were moving around the continent with a sort of freedom and on a scale that had never really happened before. And I wanted to describe that. I mean, each of the parts of the book is about characters moving around Europe. And then, almost as soon as the book was published, the Brexit referendum took place. There was the refugee crisis in 2015. So suddenly the picture changed, and the picture of Europe, which I had been trying to portray in the book, somewhat darkened since then. And having said that, though, I do still think that Europe now, unfortunately excluding Britain, within Europe itself, there is still a remarkable freedom of movement for people, and people do travel around within Europe, and the number of, for instance, the number of families in which the parents are from different European countries and the children therefore have more than one national identity, that is still increasing, I believe. And so I'm not totally pessimistic about the situation in Europe. In the wider world, of course, it's perhaps not as a worse situation, but yes, I mean, we obviously live in not particularly happy times from that point of view.
Thanks a lot, David.
Thank you
Thanks a
very
lot.
much.